Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to our video, Finding Your Voice, Strategies to Cope with Words That Hurt. We're delighted that you could join us today. We are the Brain Injury Advisory Council of the Brain Injury Association of America. We are all brain injury survivors who individually and collectively are advocates, are educators, are mentors who are using our experiences as brain injury survivors to make the journey a little bit easier for other survivors. We wanted to start by introducing ourselves briefly. I am Carol Starr. I am one of the co-leaders of this council, and I have been living with brain injury for 25 years. I'm going to ask Kelly, my other co-leader, to introduce herself.
Thank you. I'm Kelly Lang. I live in Northern Virginia, and I am both a caregiver and survivor of brain injury, and just passed our 23-year anniversary.
All right, go ahead, Paul. Yeah.
My name is Paul Bosworth. I live in South Louisiana, Cajun country, and my accident was 17 years ago.
And Shay.
Hello, my name is Kaz O'Shea Marie, or Kaz or Shay. I live in Arizona and I have been living with brain injury since 2017.
And Angela.
Hey y'all, I'm Angela. I hail from Western North Carolina, where it's a brisk 33 degrees right now. So looking forward to this fireside chat. And my injury happened 16 years ago.
Darcy.
Hi, my name is Darcy Keith. I am from Indiana, and I've been living with brain injury for over 33 years.
Kelly P.
Hi, I'm Kelly Pokrivka. I'm from Virginia and I've been living with brain injury for 11 years.
And last but not least, Stacia.
I'm Stacia Bissell, and I live in Western Massachusetts, and I've had a brain injury for 13 years.
I think I forgot to say that I'm coming from Maine, where it's actually, I think it's a little bit warmer than North Carolina, where Angela is right now. How weird is that? So this topic that we, as a council, we did some brainstorming about something that we wanted to talk about. And all of us as brain injury survivors have had the experience of coping with words that hurt, that we've had things said to us, comments, sometimes unintentional, sometimes intentional, those words that hurt. And we wanted to, as a group, have a conversation about what it feels like, those words, and some of our strategies for dealing with them. So what are some of those comments that we've heard?
You don't look like you have a brain injury.
Mm-hmm. You look fine.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Are you
got
sure
your
you're
bells
not
rung.
making this up?
Yeah, I was going to say that one. I got, are you faking it? Because you look fine, and maybe you should stop talking about it so much, since that might be part of why you still have symptoms.
What?
Yeah.
I've gotten, I'm so glad everything worked out for you. And you just had your bells rung.
Yeah.
I wish I could take a nap every day, or I wish I didn't have to work full time anymore.
Mm.
Yeah, school and work were a lot of the comments that were, really painful to hear. Like, you should be able to do that,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've gotten comments along the lines of like, you're not trying hard enough. That's why you're still experiencing
Yes.
what you are.
Yes, man.
Or
You're
when people say
trying.
oh, that happens to me too, if I try to explain what some of my symptoms are.
Yes, if you'll get off the couch and do more, you'll feel better.
Oh, I know how you feel.
Mhm.
Just
You
all
know
of
what you
them.
ought to do is,
Mm.
no, I have a different brain from you. I know what I'm doing.
I'm doing it my way.
Everybody's an expert.
I know,
Yeah.
especially early in my journey, I was so devastated
Mm.
by those comments, and I felt like I didn't know what to say when people would say those things to me. But it made me feel like I was about this big.
Like you should be over this by now, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just this unseen place. Yeah.
Like your feelings don't matter, like you don't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes when those comments are made, I'll think for a minute and say, is this person really worth my time to explain to them?
Mhm.
And sometimes I'll say no, that I'm not going to make any dent in them and I'll just move on. Other times I feel like, yeah, this person will understand once I explain and they will be more empathetic and maybe learn and not say it to the next person they meet.
Yeah, I feel like it's not fair for me to assume that people understand my experience. It's such a personal, individual experience. We all have entirely different deficits. So I try to empower myself to find understanding and help that person see it from my perspective. It doesn't always work, and I don't want to come across like a know-it-all, but I find that by trying to help that person understand my position is helpful. It's helpful sometimes.
Yeah, I
You
think
know,
it can be easier said than done, but sometimes, well, all times, I try to keep in mind that I don't have to take that energy on, that a lot of times people make the comments and it's something going on with them, and I'm not responsible for that. And there's not necessarily something that I can do to, as Kelly mentioned, change their mind. And so I don't have to take on that energy because that's work that they have to do within themselves,
Mm.
their bias or their ignorance. So it's not something that I need to take on because I know that it's not the truth and it's something going on within them that's making them make these comments towards me.
Well put. Well
I
put.
love that. I love that.
Yeah,
And
Stacia,
for those, I was going to say, Carol, we're both teachers. I think we're the only two teachers in this group, former teachers, but that was my go-to, right? So, brain injury
Hmm.
101, let's go, right? Educate people. And then I found out they didn't want to be educated. So to Kelly's point, I had to figure out where to spend my time, how to discern who's going to be open or even asking questions versus me just trying to educate all the time.
Right, because I figured early on, all right, if I can just tell them more,
Yeah.
then they're going to get it. And
Mm.
some people did, and some people didn't. So I had to have like a whole bunch of different strategies in terms of
Oh,
dealing with
cool. Okay.
those comments because not every strategy worked in every situation.
One size
You know,
doesn't
some,
fit
you
all.
know, sometimes it was education worked. Sometimes it was, well, nope, they are just not worth my time. You know, sometimes it was advocacy. Um, and I have found that the more that I focused on me, on my own journey, on being okay with who I am now as a brain injury survivor, the less the comments bothered me. I still hear them, um, but they don't bother me so much anymore because I know who I am as a survivor. That what people say to me, they don't impact my self-esteem in the way that they used to. And it's not about the comments stopping, it's about me getting stronger in
Ah,
this
yes.
self that I am now.
Here, here.
One
Yep.
thing I want to mention, if I may, um, two, I had my brain injury in Washington, D.C., moved home to South Louisiana, and it took me a year and a half to find a neurologist to help with the symptoms. And I remember coming out of one doctor's office bawling, crying because the woman told me, you have a cholesterol issue and you have a high blood pressure issue. Other than that, please get out of my office. And I was devastated. Like you had said, Carol, I was like, wait a second, I'm coming to you for help and you don't get it? That's when I started to take inventory and take it upon myself to figure out something. Maybe some of it was me. Maybe some of it was my part in my own recovery. And boy, did I realize that was all of it.
Mhm.
I think just hearing that other people also heard similar comments really helped
Mhm.
me cope and be able to, be strong enough to respond to them or just, ignore them at a certain point because I realized that so many people, like everyone in this room, heard very similar comments. It wasn't me. I wasn't, just not doing enough. It's just a very common thing
Yes.
that happens through
Yeah.
any type of trauma or, like bad streak. And I think that really helped just hearing that I'm not alone and these people, it's not tailored to me. Like all of these comments aren't about
Mhm.
me.
Not my fault. Yeah.
Mhm. I mean, it's amazing how we are all across the country. But I mean, I think that probably every comment that each of us brought up, that each of us has heard some variation of.
Right.
I would imagine the people watching this video are going, yeah, yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that, that they are so similar, those things that we hear. I think that when you have a misunderstood injury like brain injury is,
Oh,
this is
another
this is
thing
this is
that
part of the journey, unfortunately.
Another comment that hurts my feelings, and I still get every now and then, is, I can't believe you don't remember that. My wedding, my first wedding. I don't remember.
Oh.
There are some really major life moments that I can't recall. And people say, I can't believe you don't remember that. It really breaks my heart every time I hear that.
Now, for those of us who have frontal injuries where our emotions are kept and where we may be impulsive, it's important when we hear comments like that not to get emotional up front, but just take a break, take a breather, take a breath. So that way you can gather yourself. And like Shay had mentioned, it's not about you, it's about them. And don't take on that energy. So just it's hard to control the frontal lobe, but just from an emotional standpoint, take a breath when you hear something like that.
I love that, Darcy. And I know that there was a time when some of what I would do is hide after I got comments from those people in particular. And I would try to remember that the next time I saw those people to just be as diligent as I could, not to show any symptoms and really try to just hold it together for as long as I was there because I didn't know what my reaction was going to be other than that. Now I try to remember when I get to that point of, again, I'm hearing this or whatever. It's sort of what Shay was saying earlier about it's on their laps too, right? Their lives have changed also.
Right,
They've been
right.
inconvenienced in a way, and they almost need you back to the way you were so that they get comfortable again. So they may, also say things like, no, really, you really do look fine. They're just trying to convince you
Through their own willpower,
they're-
trying to get the old
you back.
Angela.
I think
Yeah.
there's some of that going on.
One thing I want to add is just because I have one nap and I feel good after the nap, that doesn't mean everything's fine. And that's really hard for people to understand. It's like they're fine for a couple hours, but I'm going to still revisit the extreme tiredness that comes with a concussion. I just am. And also to add, there's a lot of ignorance out there that people don't know how to respond to us. So I just have resorted to, I told you I had a brain injury, right? I did mention that. And they'll slowly catch on to realizing, oh, this comes with a brain injury. The stutters, the muscle jerks, all the other stuff. Yeah.
There are
That's
some
why I think-
symptoms that can be seen.
Yes, and that's why I think like the survivor to survivor stuff is so important because we get each other and that we can say things almost like in a shorthand. I get tired, I forget things, and we know what those things are like, and there's a relief that comes, an understanding, and like Kelly P was saying, that not feeling alone, in all of the comments, and that is so important in terms of a way to kind of inoculate ourselves against
Oh,
them.
good way of putting it. That's interesting. Yeah.
It's
By
almost
having a
healing.
community of other survivors.
I think one
It's
of the
really
hardest is when you are have a medical professional who
Yes.
questions
Mm.
or who doesn't really question the diagnosis, but just is kind of like, "Ah, look how good you're doing, or you're just fine, or I wish my kids would do that, For a long time, that was really hard for me, but now I just cut off my relationship with them. I
Yeah,
just
that doctor doesn't need to be in that sphere.
I'm a
You do.
customer. I'm a customer, and I will search high and low, and trust me, I do. For the doctors that will be empathetic, who will be understanding, who will understand the symptoms, and even though the symptoms might not be there that particular day at that particular time, usually because we usually arrange appointments to work with our schedules when we're at our best. That doesn't mean they don't exist.
I think Kelly brings up a great point that if those people continue to negate what you're feeling, I have also decided to eliminate the relationships from
It's
my
true.
life that bring me down, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And that's something that's a good strategy. Not saying that's the first strategy; it might be the last one. But
Yeah.
there's a point where you have to, for your own mental health, say, you know what, this relationship is something that I can't continue in my life. So I think that was a very good point, Kelly.
Thank you.
100% agree with you on that. I think I was never good at saying no in the past, but this brain injury for me has allowed me to say not only no to things like I can't go out tonight because I'm headachy or too tired, but no to certain relationships. And at the same time, it's also allowed me the freedom in the room to say yes to new things. And that combination, I sometimes wonder if the brain injury hadn't occurred, if I would have gotten to that point of the a better balance between no and yes.
True. Yeah, well put. Well put.
Mhm.
Also, these people that we're talking about, they could also be family and close friends that all of a sudden get
Mhm.
shocked and don't understand what's going on. And they're taking their best effort to try and motivate you or motivate the next, that person they're speaking to who's a survivor, and it ends up being hurtful. I don't think it starts off that way, but on the back end, we're taking it as, oh, please stop talking, please.
So our audience, we invite y'all that if you find any relevance and connection to this, share this video. Let us be the bad guys. Share this video with those who are um, worst in our lives, and let them hear from a third party that what you're saying is not appropriate, that it hurts people's feelings. That's how this video can be powerful.
And I think
And
sometimes,
nice.
as somebody says, sometimes our families, they don't know at first because they're on their own journey.
Walking on
And
eggshells,
they are,
yeah.
yes, and they are working their way through their own feelings about what's happened to us. And they don't know at first about what is hurtful to us. And sometimes we have to give them grace to get to work through their own journey. And there's a limit. If somebody continues to say those hurtful things despite them knowing, the impact on us. So there's a line there, which can be really difficult, especially when it comes to family and close friends.
That's a great point, Carol, because our family members have also experienced a loss because
Mhm.
we're different. And they
Yes.
want the person they knew before to come back. And so even though we haven't died,
Right.
there's an ambiguous loss that can't be, there's no closure. Not that I believe there's closure even in death, but um, there's they have to deal with those feelings of, well, what do I do now with this person? Before they could do A, B, and C, and now they can only do D, E, and F. Um, so, but also we have to learn to protect ourselves, but by not putting up a wall either.
Right.
By building our own newer community or a different community. It's really not newer, it's just a different community of those we can share these experiences with. And maybe we can't share them with everyone, but at least we have this community of other people who have been through these types of things. And like we
That's
say,
right, y'all.
no brain injury is alike. They're all different, but
That's right.
yet so much of our experiences are similar.
And I think it also helps to kind of along those lines recognize how much control you actually have in these situations because I think with a brain injury, it can feel like so much of the experience is outside of our control. And even when people make these comments, it kind of feels like something is happening to us and we may not know how to respond because it feels like, again, that control is kind of being taken away from us. But just like you said, we can either explain to them or choose to walk away or even cease that relationship. So I think recognizing that as a survivor, you do have that control to make the decision for yourself about what's going to be best for you.
I think that's such a good point about control, and I call it power, about finding where our power is in a situation, that we are not completely powerless. I think it feels like that, especially early on, because we get this barrage of comments, that comes at us, and it feels overwhelming and devastating. But ultimately, we do have a power, like you said, to walk away, to not engage, to advocate, to educate, or to say, nope, not today.
To
Um,
find our own new peer group, right?
yes,
Of
exactly.
understanding.
Any of those are absolutely 100% valid, effective strategies. And I think one of the things that's really come out of this is it depends on the situation. It depends on the person. There is no one right strategy. And sometimes it's just being gentle with ourselves, saying, well, yeah, that didn't go so well. Okay, well, I'll try again another time. Because I know I didn't feel like good at any of this at first. And sometimes it's like, well, and that's okay because we all have bad brain days. Um,
Hilda.
yes, I call my injury Brain Hilda. Brain Hilda sometimes comes roaring out and it's like, oh, that didn't go well. And
I think it's hard too when there's a really close friend or family member that you're having the biggest struggle with
mm,
on this. And you have to, unfortunately, sometimes brace yourself for a big loss. If,
mm,
depending on, you just need to maybe gently back off, but that can hurt. Brain injury survivors have had already a lot of loss,
Mm.
and this can be the reason for more loss. And
Yeah.
yes, Shay, it's in our power to make that decision, but then we're signing ourselves up for more loss on this. So I guess my message here is just to brace yourself a little bit too, that sometimes you may lose some significant relationships because of it.
mhm. Yeah.
One thing I wanted to add was writing my story helped me to get myself into perspective, and it helped me understand all of my shortcomings because I had to be told like 15 times, Paul, write your story. Paul, write your story. Paul, write your story. And after I got finished with it 6 months later, I'm like, now I understand what I have. Now I understand what I could do, what I might be able to do. And it put things into perspective because the whole time I'm going to doctor after doctor after doctor, nobody's explaining to me what I've got other than a brain injury, which scares the daylights out of people when I say that. Let me write this down and get this segmented some kind of way. That was really helpful. Help me put it down on paper and see my brain injury.
Mhm. Yeah, the more we
Kelly,
understand, oh, go ahead, Darcy.
Kelly P, do you have something you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think just along with all of this, if there's people who are worth it, being completely vulnerable is our power.
Mm,
And
Ah,
explaining exactly why those comments hurt can actually be really helpful. So, for
here,
example,
here.
if you get to the root of it, like why are all of these unsolicited diets or programs or not dwelling on it, why does that hurt me? And I think it's because I'm doing so much work all the time and hearing those comments make it feel like you don't think I'm trying hard enough. You don't think what I'm doing is correct. When I'm working with my doctors, my, whatever team I have on board, this is the plan that I think is right for me. And hearing those comments and additional suggestions just feel like you don't think I'm working hard enough at my recovery. So
mm,
get to the root of why those issues hurt, and if they're worth it,
mm,
share that with them and see if that makes any changes.
mhm. Right, because it's unlikely that's really what they're saying, but that's the impact. And
Exactly.
I think that could like really shock somebody, like, whoa.
Agreed.
Yeah, and I think that vulnerable, that's a great word.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You can blame it on I don't have a filter anymore. I'm just gonna just gonna
I've
say.
used that before. Oh, I don't have it. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard them last night. My daughter, she mentioned on something she's blunt. I said, I get it. I am very blunt. She's like, yes, you are, mom. So, no, so I had to, yeah. Anyway,
So I think we've had a lovely wide-ranging discussion about this topic that affects all of us as brain injury survivors. So I hope you've taken some insight, some strategies, and most importantly, some feeling that you're not alone in dealing with this. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next time we do a video.